Oh, look at that. She's there. People are connected. Because we said they can just connect. Huh?
Now they're recording now.
Loving God, help us to trust in our lives. Each of us in the body of Christ is this particular organ, this particular fiber, and no other. In this divine vine, we are this branch, this leaf, this flower, or this fruit. And what we are, no one else is, nor ever will be. Our common vocation is that we be members of Jesus by grace and by glory. Our personal vocation is that we be for Jesus this particular member and no other. Just pause for just short reflection. A reading from St. Paul's letter to the First Corinthians. This is a variety of gifts, but always the same Spirit. There are all sorts of services to be done, but always the same Lord, working in all sorts of different ways in different people. It is the same God who is working in all of them. The particular way in which the Spirit is given to each person is for a good purpose. One may have the gift of preaching with wisdom given them by the Spirit. Another, again, the gift of healing through this one Spirit. One, the power of miracles, another prophecy, another the gift of recognizing spirits, another the gift of tongues, and another the ability to interpret them. All these are the work of one and the same Spirit, who distributes different gifts to different people, just as God chooses.
is your plan? What is your desire? Whatever it is, I want to give my all to you. Help me discern. Yeah. I want to hand it over. Oh. I want to walk the journey, trusting in your will. Trusting in your love, trusting in your call, even when it's so dark, handing over, giving all, believing I'm surrounded, that you're caring for my every moment, that the deep and constant promptings are your call, your will for me. What is your plan? What is your desire? To give my all to you. Help me discern. Yeah, I want to hand it over. I want to walk the journey, trusting in your will. Trusting in my life, trusting that you're near, holding me and bringing me near, casting out my coldest fear, believing in my desolation, that you hold my and you lead me on. You want my life, my living, to be free and full of joy. What is your plan? What is your desire? To give my all to you. Oh, help me discern. I want to hand it over. I want to walk trusting, trusting. I want to
Cassie, we can't hear you.
I now welcome Merle as she leads us into her presentation. Merle, welcome.
So thank you, Cassie, thank you, Cor Vite, and welcome to everybody. It's our first time to be together on Zoom, and we congratulate Cor Vite for having launched this program, and we are all very excited. And brothers and sisters, it's okay to make mistakes today. It's our first time. So this is our chance to really learn and do it well. So good morning to those who are in the morning. Good afternoon to many. Good evening maybe to some. To everyone, wherever you may be in the world at this moment, I am happy to be with you. Virtually, but also really, we are together in spirit and truth. At this time and space have collapsed. We are together, and that's the truth. So allow me to share my screen. Here it is. You can see it now. Okay. In this year's Easter Vigil, we read from the Gospel of St. Mark. Mark chapter 16, verses 1 to 7. We all know the story. So very early in the morning of the third day, the women went to the tomb and found the big stone already rolled away. Remember, they were talking to each other, who will roll the stone? And then when they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe, an angel, who said to them, "Do not be afraid. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, the crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. He is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him." Do not be afraid. You seek Jesus of Nazareth, the crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. He is going before you to Galilee. There you will see him. In his homily for that night at St. Peter's Basilica, Pope Francis said, "May we too accept this message, the message of Easter. Let us go to Galilee, where the risen Lord has gone ahead of us." Yet what does it mean to go to Galilee? And Pope Francis says, to go to Galilee means first to begin anew. For the disciples, it meant going back to the place where the Lord first sought them out and called them to follow him. Galilee is the place of their first encounter and the place of their first for there the risen Lord is waiting for us. So in the next 2 hours, we shall be traveling back to our Galilee. Individually, yes, no? For each vocation story is a personal story, but also together as a community, as one Chevalier family. And we welcome Sister Chichiru to our Chevalier family. We will travel back to the places where the Lord first sought us, where he first called us to follow him. We will travel back to the place of our first encounter, to the place of our first love. So we shall be talking about our vocation stories today, this morning. Although we shall be talking about our own vocation stories, the stories are not really about us. In truth, all our stories are about our God who loves, our God who calls, and our God who sends us out. So are you ready? Let us travel back in time and space. And I get the opportunity, the privilege to share my story first. So accompany me as I return to my Galilee. So let me share with you my vocation story. As you know, I am Filipino. No? I'm from the Philippines. I was born more than half a century ago. I was born in 1968. I am the fourth child of my parents. There they are, Victoria Remedios, or Josie for many, and Eduardo, or Duarding. And then after me, 4 more came. So in our family, we are 8 in all, 4 girls and 4 boys. Today, 7 of us are still living. One sister died of cancer in 2002 when she was 39 years old. My parents, Josie and Duarding, are both deceased now. My father died of cancer just more than 3 months after my first profession in 1998. He was 64. And my mother died of carbon dioxide retention just before the pandemic broke out in October 2019. She was 82. I belong to a very big family. Believe it or not, that photo is just my family, no outsider. I am the only one who joined religious life. My brothers and sisters are all married or have children. As of the last count, I now have 17 nephews and nieces and 2 grand nieces. So 19 all in all and still counting. So I'm not only a proud tita or aunt, I'm also a happy lola or grandmother. Like most people, it is in this family that I first encountered our Lord who loves. My mother in particular was very religious, and she was a devotee of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and of Our Lady. The first Friday was very important to her, so we went to Mass every first Friday. As a child, I learned to pray this prayer, all for thee, O most Sacred Heart of Jesus. And when I say it, I even hit my chest. I said it with the solemnity of the child at the beginning of each day, all for the most sacred heart of Jesus. Little did I know that the Sacred Heart will take this prayer seriously. I did not even know what it meant, I just mouthed it. But even in this kind of religiosity, priesthood and religious life was never part of my parents' dreams for any one of us. And thus was also not the dream of any of us, their children. Like all families, we had our difficulties. I was born in a place called Tarlac. It is in the central part of the island of Luzon in the Philippines. About 2 hours bus ride from Manila, going north. I grew up there and lived there until I was 12 years old. My mother was full-time in the house, while my father worked in Manila and would come home only on weekends. When I was 12, a big storm visited our family. One of my sisters, the one who died already, she discovered that my father was living with another woman in Manila. As you could imagine, this turned my family upside down. In the Philippines, there is no divorce. So this was not an option. Also, my mother was of the firm belief that it was my father's duty that he stayed with us and that it is our right that we be supported by him. So my mother decided to uproot us from Tarlac, brought us all to Manila, and forced my father to stay with us. So no separation happened. But for 4 years, from 1980 to 1984, these years were very, very turbulent years. That was the time I was in high school. In Manila, we stayed in an apartment, a rented apartment. We were enrolled in new schools, and each of us coped with the situation the best way we can. My parents and us, their children. What was my coping mechanism? No? I coped by daydreaming a lot, and that developed my imagination. But I also coped by putting all my energy into schoolwork. When I was in school, that was Siena College, Quezon City, I met a girl, Christy. Her mother had German measles when she was pregnant with her, so Christy was born almost blind with many sicknesses. Although she had very, very poor eyesight, her other senses were as sharp as can be. Christy and I met on the first day of school in 1981. That's us in our class picture there. It was my birthday, the 6th of July. And from that day on, we became best friends. Her older brothers brought us to school in the mornings, and in the afternoons, we took the jeepney and I brought her home. And this we did every single day until we finished high school. In those very painful and confusing years of my life, that high school time, God came to my life in the person of Christy, a friend to love and care for, a friend for life. When I recall Christy, I thank God for through her, God gave me a share of who and what He is. One who loves, but also one who does not only love us, but also one who is happy to be loved by us. Contrary to doctors' expectations, Christy lived up to the age of 40. She died in 2007. In high school there in Siena, I was part of 3 clubs. the Mentors Club, the Youth Missionaries of Mary, and the High School Coordinating Council. Again, I did not know that the Lord was already preparing me for the life He was going to call me to, that of being a missionary of Our Lady, a mentor to others, and an administrator. By the time I finished high school and entered college, the turbulent years were also coming to an end. My father bought a property in Angono, Rizal, that's east of Manila. I did well in school, and I made it to the University of the Philippines. In choosing my course, I was very practical. I wanted to finish school the soonest possible time and get a job most easily in order to help my family financially. So I took up accountancy. In college, I again met women who have become lifetime friends. The Filipina sisters would know them. After college, looking for a job was not difficult at all. I graduated magna cum laude from the College of Business Administration of the University of the Philippines in Diliman. In our country, that is probably one of the best credentials one can ever dream of. So easily, I was hired as a finance management trainee by the First Pacific Group of companies. When I took the CPA board exams in October of 1989, that's the national exam for certified public accountants, I ended up placing 4th, which made me even more marketable. So soon after I finished the 2-year management trainee program with First Pacific, I got pirated by another company, Piltel, the first cellular phone company in the country. As manager for budget and financial planning, I was only 23 years old, but already very successful. I was given a car by the company and had a higher than average salary. So there I was, 23 years old, highly successful, but I was not happy. Externally, I generally remained my jolly self, but inside, I was drowning in my loneliness. And God started calling. My personal crisis came soon after I started working. There was a nagging emptiness inside of me that I could not understand. I tried to fill it up with work, so I worked and worked and worked. And I became more and more successful. As I became more and more successful, I also became more and more unhappy. I remember the big earthquake in 1990. I was with the First Pacific Group of Corporation. I was working in one of our plants in Pasig, Metro Lab, when the earthquake struck. When things calmed down, I went to the nearby church in Pasig, sat at the last pew in the very dark church, and I started to cry. I just cried and cried, not really knowing what I was crying about. Then after about an hour, I went back to the office and finished my work for the day. The deep sadness persisted, and slowly, gently, God came to my rescue. First came the invitation from Christy and some high school friends to attend a charismatic renewal. This gave me new life. I enjoyed my new relationship with the Lord. I enjoyed the charismatic prayer meetings. I enjoyed my newfound friends and community. Soon my life revolved around my work and service in the charismatic community. But the emptiness was still there. I was still looking for something I could not put my finger on. Then came the invitation to transfer to Piltel and head the company's budget and financial planning department. My new office was near the chapel in Makati, so I now had 3 things on my plate: my new job, the charismatic community, and service in the chapel. My initials are MIS, that's Merle Ingasalo Salazar. But my office mates teased me and said the letter stood for Manang in Service. That means an old lady in service. I was only 23, but they were right. I was very much an old lady already. Young, but unhappy and burnt out. But I kept on working and serving nonstop until one day, God intervened. I was almost 25 years old by then. I met an accident. I was driving home after working without sleep for about 48 hours. I had to go home just to change my clothes. I had to be back in the office for the 10 a.m. board meeting. I lived far from Makati, so I left the office at 4 a.m. As expected, being very tired and sleepy, I fell asleep while driving. There was a 10-wheeler truck in front of me. I was driving a small car, a Honda Civic. And when the truck stopped, I did not stop. I was sleeping. So my car went under the truck until something under the truck, they said the chassis, hit my windshield. The truck driver felt it and I woke up. God was good. I was wearing my seatbelt. The windshield shattered into small pieces of glass like glitters. And I was small. So the truck's chassis just went over my head. Big damage on the car, no damage on me. But it literally and figuratively woke me up. So I left my car, got on a jeepney to go home. I was crying and trembling. I got my younger brother to drive my car and myself back to Makati. Of course, I missed the board meeting. 2 office mates came to my office when they heard what had happened. One, a very religious one, said to me, "Do you realize that Jesus died twice for you already? The first time on the cross, the second time this morning." I did not pay attention. I was not in the mood to hear a sermon. But then another office mate, my kumpare, I was the godmother of his daughter, said, "Lay, I heard your guardian angel reported to heaven bruised and bandaged, sugatan." It was actually the same message. The Lord has saved me from death and has given me another chance. Gripped by this realization, I went to the other extreme. I went to an Opus Dei retreat. After making a general confession, I said to the Lord, "Okay, I will start again." And I went back to how I was before, working hard and serving hard in the chapel and the charismatic. It's as if the ears of my heart were plugged. I was just not hearing the message. So God, ever patient, intervened again. Just a week before my 26th birthday, I met another accident, smaller this time. I again fell asleep while driving, and I hit the back of a jeepney. No big damage. My hood just got bent a little. I brought my car to the casa the next day, and they said it will take some days for them to repair it. So I had to take public transport for a few days. On the eve of my birthday, I was in a prayer meeting, and as usual, the prayer meeting ended late. By the time I reached the waiting shed to get the tricycle home, it was almost midnight. I passed the time by reading the gospel and commentary for the next day. In the commentary, the writer was sharing about the fact that God was teaching her to listen to her children. Still no tricycle, and I was the only one there. So I thought maybe God wanted to say something to me, and He wants me to listen. So I made a deal with Him. I said, "Sige Lord, say what you have to say. Just promise me that after you have said what you need to say, you will send me a tricycle and bring me home. It is sad naman to celebrate my birthday in this waiting shed." So I waited, and God spoke to me. So no, he did not appear. I did not see an image of God, and I did not hear any voice, no. But a thought came, a very clear thought. And it said, open your Bible to Hosea, chapter 3, verse 2. Very clear. Where did that come from? I have no idea. I have no explanation for it except that maybe, just maybe, it came from God. I had my Bible with me, so because I just came from a prayer meeting, so I opened my Bible. Hosea 3, verse 2. It said, "So I bought her for 15 pieces of silver and a homer and a letek of barley." That was it. I said, huh? I did not know what to make out of that verse, so I read on. Verse 3. So Hosea 3:3. Then I said to her, "Many days you shall wait for me. You shall not play the harlot or belong to any man. I in turn will wait for you." I read the text for a second time, and then a tricycle came. The driver said, "Last trip," and he turned off the lights in the waiting shed. And I finally heard. That night, I was not able to sleep. In the office, I decided not to attend my morning meeting. Instead, I closed my office door, opened the telephone directory to convents, and I started calling up every convent that was listed on the page. The other convents I rang gave me dates for their search in. The daughters, well, the sister who answered me said, "We have no search in scheduled. But if you want," the sister said, "you can visit us anytime." I took up the offer and visited them on the weekend, bringing with me flowers from my birthday. I visited Hearts Our House in New Manila, and the simplicity of the house and the welcoming kindness of the sisters captured my heart. That first visit was followed by many others until I entered the convent as an aspirant in January 1995. After meeting them, I did not visit any other congregation anymore. I said, it is the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart or no one else. As an aspirant, I read the book Jules Chevalier, Man with a Mission. I was so taken by the story of Father Jules that after reading it, I prayed to God, Lord, if it is your will, I would like to ask for a share, even just a little, in the spirit and mission that you have given to this man. Sisters and brothers, when I look back at my vocation story, what I see is God's compassion. The Lord saw me and had pity on me. He saw how sad, how miserable I was, in spite of my successes. He heard my cry. He saw me drowning myself in work, and he had compassion on me. So he called me to himself. The motto of Pope Francis says it very clearly. Miserando atque eligendo, mercied and chosen, kinaawaan at pinili. It is not that God needed a worker in his field. Rather, it is that God saw me and had mercy on me, so he called me to him. As a consequence of this call, of being called by him and to him, of being the object of his compassion, he sent me out to his vineyard. I too became a subject, sent to share the same compassion that I received to others. Is it any surprise then that he led me to a Sacred Heart congregation? Is it any surprise that the first time I met the sisters, I already knew this was it? Is it any surprise that I ended up joining a congregation of women of heart on mission, whose life and work are dedicated to making the compassion of God incarnated in Jesus known and loved everywhere and forever? So, sisters and brothers, I have shared with you my story. I have traveled back to my own Galilee. Now it is your turn. So my suggestion is to first spend some time in personal reflection, about 10 minutes. Recall your own vocation story. Go back to your own Galilee. As you look back, what do you see? What called you to the priesthood? What called you to religious life? What called you to the congregation? After 10 minutes of personal reflection, we will go into dyads. So those who are attending together in their screen, you will share with each other, maybe 2 by 2 or 3 by 3, depending on how many you are. But for those attending individually on their computers, Father Ben later will send you out in the World Wide Web and you will meet somebody 2 by 2. You will meet somebody new. You will have 20 minutes to share. Then there's 15 minutes coffee break. So those, if you're not yet finished sharing, you can continue sharing. But it is now 8:31 by my watch, Rome time. So 10 minutes for personal reflection, and then 20 minutes for sharing. I'll signal Father Ben when we need to send them to the dyads. And then 9 o'clock break, and then by 9:15 we will call you back to the plenary for part 2 of the conference. So 10 minutes for personal reflection time. So maybe 1 more minute for personal reflection. And then Father Ben, in about a minute, please send them to their dyads or to the breakout groups.
Yes.
Again, those who are attending in one screen, I guess you may share with each other 2 by 2, and then you will have 20 minutes.
Okay.
So Father Ben, in a minute, you can send them out to their breakout groups, and we give them 20 minutes in the
Okay.
group.
They
Thank
can go
you.
now. I will send them now.
Yeah, okay, yeah, send them.
How did we do it? We just,
I went to this.
it's okay.
Father, there is Sister M. Celestine and Catherine who are still in.
Who are?
Sorry.
They have not been sent out.
Do we have one?
Catherine?
No, Catherine is Kathy.
Yeah, Catherine is Kathy. She's still in the main room.
I'm with Sister Betty.
Okay. Because they're sharing with each other. Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
I'll just go and have breakfast. See you in 20 minutes.
Okay, Merle, thank you. Good breakfast. Have a breakfast.
like to continue my story and invite you again, to travel back with me. So thank you very much for all those who shared, and I hope you really had the chance to share during the dyads. Okay, so let me share my screen again. And so my story continues. And so I was accepted to the aspirancy program of the Daughters of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart on the 25th of January, 1995, the feast of the conversion of St. Paul. At that time, I was convinced that the Lord was calling me to this life. But at the same time, I was very much unsure if it was the life I wanted for myself. We had our aspirancy in Muñoz, Nueva Ecija, with Sister Presi as our formator. 5 months later, on the Feast of the Sacred Heart, the 23rd of June, 1995, we were accepted to the postulancy. We were a big group. There were 7 of us. These first 2 stages of formation, aspirancy and postulancy, were for me, first of all, a time of discernment. Is God really calling me to religious life? Is this the congregation where He called me to? And I am sure, and I know now for sure, that that time was also a time of discernment for the congregation. The congregation was asking, is God really calling this girl to religious life? Does she have the capacities necessary to live religious life effectively, and to fulfill the mission of the congregation? Is she right for our congregation? Was it really God who brought her to us? So it was a time of discernment. Second, it was also a time of getting to know. It was only during the aspirancy that I discovered that this congregation had a brother congregation, the MSCs. At that time, I did not hear of the MSC sisters yet. And then because they were present in the Philippines, not only a brother congregation, this congregation I joined is a whole family, a religious family. During the postulancy, we attended inter-congregational classes. And that is when I got to know other congregations and what we call the different charisms and spiritualities. And the more I got to know other congregations, the more my conviction that this is the congregation where God was calling me to became stronger. During this time, I also got to know my companions. Taran, there they are. And they got to know me. And through the years of formation, we have become friends. You know, today, in the pandemic time, our postulancy group, we meet via Zoom once a month. And Annalyn, this one, she has left the convent. She was the one who provided the photos for this. So it was a time of discernment. It was a time of getting to know. It was also a time of prayer. My prayer was, Lord, if this is really the life you will for me, please change my heart. Please make me desire what you desire for me. This was my prayer, and God heard my prayer. By the time I applied to enter the novitiate, I could already honestly say that this life that God wants for me is also the life that I want for myself. God has changed my heart. And so we entered the novitiate, 6 of us, on the eve of the feast of Our Lady of the Sacred Heart in 1996. Finally, I felt that I have found my little corner under the sun. There was a very deep sense of contentment, of being home. But then just before our first profession, in early 1998, my dad was diagnosed with nasopharyngeal cancer. He needed to have treatment, and he was the only one earning for our family then. I knew my family needed help financially. And so I decided to leave and help my family in this time of need. I have been given permission by my novice mistress. When I had my interview with the regional superior, she asked me to suspend my decision for a week, just 1 week, to pray and listen to what God says. I was to talk to her again after 1 week. In the meantime, I called up my former office and asked them if they have a job for me just in case I needed to find work again. And they said yes, so I was assured of employment when I left. And so I waited, prayed, and listened. That week, a friend from college came and gave me money. She said, I know you can't give your parents, your mother money anymore. I can give you this. She said to me, give it to your family as your contribution for your dad's treatment. That same week, relatives from the US came and they also gave money. My only reason for going home was to help my family financially. That week, God showed me that He could give them more than I ever could. And so I stayed. As we prepared for our first profession, my dad stayed with us in Hartzer in the novitiate during the weekdays while he was having linear radiation and dialysis. I and all my co-novices took turns in caring for him, and my dad got better. He was strong enough to be at my first profession on May 30, 1998. 3 of us made first profession. 4 months later, on the 6th of September 1998, my father died. I was beside him when he died. The sisters, knowing my dad was sick, assigned me to Manila for that year so that any time it became necessary, I could go home easily. That for me was an experience of God's compassion incarnated in the congregation. And the junior rate began. When I was a 4th-year junior, another death happened in our family. My older sister, Leda, who at that time was 39 years old with a 1-year-old son, died of liver cancer. Before she died, Leda asked if it was possible for me to live religious life, to take care of her son. A very difficult request. So again, I prayed. After her death, I stayed with my mother and my little nephew, Francis. I had a chance to take care of him. One day, my mother arrived home and I was asleep while the baby was very awake. My mother was afraid. The boy could have crawled out of the house. Another time, she said the neighbor saw Francis eating with Timmy, his dog. I saw that my nephew was in better hands with my mother. I did not know how to be a mother. I have never been one, while my mother had 8 of us. Again, God showed me that He could take care of my nephew better than I ever could. My eldest sister, who had children of her own and who was a doctor, also lived nearby and was happy to assist. The boy is now 19 years old, well cared for. And so the years of temporary profession went by. During the juniorate, the sense of being sent grew in me. I was not just called, I was also sent. In his book, Jesus of Nazareth, Pope Benedict writes, Jesus appoints the 12 with a double assignment, to be with him and to be sent out to preach. They must be with him in order to get to know him. At the same time, however, they are there to become Jesus' envoys, apostles no less, who brings his message to the world. And this was my experience. In my mission assignments in the juniorate, I discovered my gifts and my love for teaching. I was sent for studies. In my studies, my relationship with Our Lady of the Sacred Heart deepened. I wrote my thesis on Our Lady of the Sacred Heart, and she became my constant companion and guide. And I, for my part, truly became her daughter and untiring promoter. I worked as a teacher and later as formator. This I found very, very challenging. But it is where God was sending me, so I said yes. Being with Jesus, this is again a quote from Pope Benedict, and being sent by him seem at first sight mutually exclusive, but they clearly belong together. The apostles have to learn to be with Jesus in a way that enables them, even when they go to the ends of the earth, to be with him still. Being with Jesus includes the missionary dynamic by its nature, since Jesus' whole being is mission. Being called and being sent are always together. Soon the time for perpetual profession came, May 2004. There was no question in my mind. I felt ready to say yes to God forever. To prepare for this final commitment, we had a 30-day retreat, an experience that was truly transformative. I fell madly in love with God, the God who is madly in love with me. After perpetual vows, I stayed mostly in New Manila as formator, teacher, and a member of the regional administration. That has been my life ever since. Looking back, I could remember a few times after perpetual vows when I seriously considered leaving or when my vocation was seriously tested. In those times, what kept me? What made me stay? Allow me to share with you some of these difficult moments. One was triggered by a conflict in community, which I found very painful. What kept me at that time was commitment to mission. It was the middle of the semester and I was teaching. The middle of the formation year and I had aspirants. It was just the end of the financial year and I had accounting reports to finish. I stayed on saying to myself, God has sent me and I accepted, so I will stay and finish what I have been given to do. Through tears and sleepless nights, I stayed on, and God held me together in his love. That year proved to be a very fruitful year in my mission. Another difficult time was triggered by deep homesickness. When I was new in Rome, almost more than 9 years ago now. My first months here were difficult. It was my first time to live outside my country. My first time to live with people from different cultures. I felt lost. I wanted to go back home. One prayer time, I was crying to God and asking me, why did you send me to this place? Why am I here? Why have you brought me here? And the answer I received that day has stayed with me until today. God's motivation is always and only love. God said to me, I sent you there because I love you. And you are there because in your own imperfect way, you love me too. Again, God held me together in his love. Soon after, sickness came to our community, and being Asian and young, caring for the sick became my mission. I understood why I was there at that specific time. Truly, God's motivation is always and only love. The last one I want to share, but definitely not the least, is the difficulty triggered by the cancellation of our general chapter and this time of pandemic. What was the experience like for me? Well, think of a runner who was running at full speed. Then suddenly, without warning, he was told to stop. No choice, just stop. No slowing down, just immediately stop. It was a shock to my system. Again, God's answer has been consistent. God's motivation is always and only love. Just a few months before the pandemic hit, my mother died. I was still grieving. Then the pandemic came, and the first casualty for me was our chapter. That for me was the first death from COVID-19. All control was taken away. Things became so uncertain. We can neither move forward nor backward. Again, in my grief, in my pain, in my anger, God held me together in his love. And from my own room and through my computer, God reached out to me, loved me, and gave me mission that knew no limits. At the beginning of the pandemic, March to April 2020, I made a 30-day lockdown retreat, accompanied patiently and compassionately by one of our sisters from the US. In this most painful of times, God gave me people, friends and sisters who were in greater pain, who were suffering more. He gave me these friends and sisters to accompany and to care for in their pain, in their sickness, even in their dying. From my room in Rome, God sent me out virtually to give recollections, sessions, to teach English to an Italian child, to attend another congregation's enlarged council. Through my own confusion, God gave me people and situations to pray for every day. God made me write novenas, articles, and newsletters to help connect people and give hope in this time of uncertainty. I could not believe it. This most difficult year has proven to be a very fruitful one. How could it be? I knew and I know it could not be me. It can only be Christ. He is the one who is blessing and healing these people. God is the one bearing such good and abundant fruit. This must be what St. Paul meant when he said, "It is no longer I who lives, but Christ who lives in me." So what has kept me through these years? I have been in the convent for 26 years now. Soon, we will be celebrating our silver jubilee of profession already. What has kept me through these years? My answer, God's love. I know that sounds so theoretical, but I cannot say it any other way. It is His love that calls me, His love that holds me together, His love that sustains me, His love that sends me out, His love that makes me bear fruit, nothing less and nothing more, just His love. And so I am here with you today, sharing the greatness of this love. I'd like to finish my sharing here. And once again, I invite you to spend the next 10 minutes in personal reflection. Recall the times when your vocation was tested, times when you seriously considered leaving. In those most difficult of times, what kept you? What made you stay? So 10 minutes for personal reflection. And after 10 minutes, Father Ben will again send you out to the breakout groups, to your dyads, and you'll have 20 minutes to share with each other what kept you and what made you stay. And then we'll call you back to the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Merle.
So those who are together in one room, no, if you wish, you can begin sharing with your partners now. But Father Ben will send you to the dyads, no? It's 10 o'clock by my watch here. So I suppose it's 3 o'clock there. So we'll give you maybe 15 minutes together in your dyads. So Father Ben, whenever you're ready, kindly send them out to their breakout groups. You have 15 minutes to share with each other there, and then we'll call you back.
I don't know now where is my group mate.
Yeah, Dab is still here. She hasn't flown away.
Actually, my internet's not stable.
You have also exchanged what you call it, partners because of the number that has fluctuated.
Okay.
So you may not be in your original dyad group anymore.
But Dab is still here. Eh?
I'm still here. I keep on going out of the Zoom also because our internet is not stable.
Father Ben, ano, 10:15 by my time. Up to what time?
We can close it now. I mean, it closes automatically at 15 minutes.
Okay, so they will just come back automatically, huh?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Although I
sige
can
po.
command it to close now.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, we can bring them back maybe.
60 minutes, 60 seconds, they'll be back.
Okay, good. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ang galing mo, Father Ben. Thank you. Thank you.
Ikaw magaling, pinapaiyak mo ako.
No, the technology ba? Thank you very much. Galing.
Done so well. He's done well.
He's done very well. Thank
He's
you.
done very well. Yeah. Today's reading, the gospel reading is very consoling.
Yes. My peace I leave to you.
Yes.
Do not let your hearts be troubled. This went so well for a first time, really, really.
Well, you've done so well to yourself. Thank you. Very, anyhow, I won't say my words because this will be the last to say to you.
Okay. They're coming back, flying in. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Did you have a good sharing?
Yes, we have a very good sharing.
Yes.
Thank you. So again, before I give back the floor to our core vitae who have organized this first session so well, again, I'll open the floor. We won't have as much time, pero maybe about 10 minutes, to listen to whoever may want to share. What made you stay? What kept you in those most difficult times? So again, the screen is open. You may raise your hand electronically or manually. And our hosts will be happy to call on you.
Sister Amaka and Sister Tesuro are smiling.
You are welcome, sisters, if you wish to share.
Yes.
Yes, Sister Chisturu. Yes.
Okay. I thank you for inviting me today. I really appreciate to share our experience. So I could reflect about my career today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.
You are most welcome, sister. It's always a blessing, to go back to our Galilee. Thank you for taking this time to join us too. Welcome to our Chevalier family. To you. Anyone else want to say anything? Indonesian.
Sorry, sister. Yeah. Yes, sister, I want to share about my experience about vocation post-test and make me stand in the difficult situation. My experience when I was have a cancellation from the first profession. I think it's new, not new story because I already say to maybe Sister Marific or maybe some of the sisters there. At that time, I feel so bad in my group, but I have a good companion around myself, my uncle, my sister in officiate, my sister in Purworejo, and also Father Sam, who support me. After 3 months, I have a different perception about cancellation of profession. I feel more confident before. And my other experience when my mother was have a serious sickness. I feel I want to back home and take care of my mom. But again and again, God sent other people who make me stand in this vocation. From those experience, I have a belief that when God call myself, He will give the other people as companion in my journey and also give faith from those experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Vincent. Thank you. When God calls us, no, He also sustains us and gives us companions and deep faith. Thank you. Okay. So, unless there is anyone else, I will give back the floor to Cor Vite, and thank you for this beautiful time that you've given us. As I said in the beginning, I believe you were the angel dressed in white, announcing to us, go back to Galilee. There you will see the Lord. And today, we did go back to Galilee, and we have seen the Lord. Thank you, Cor Vite. You are our angels.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Merle, for bringing us all back to our own Galilee. Thank you for your inspiring presentation. Very personal, very profound. Your presentation allowed us to get in touch with our own personal call. How unique, precious, and mysterious is God's call in our own lives. And with this, I say, Merle, thank you for your love. Thank you. And also thank you to all those who have participated today. Thank you for your participation, and we will see you tomorrow. And we'll have another presenter for tomorrow. So, back Merle, thank you. And so now we'll end with our concluding prayer. Normally, towards the end, we will present you with our appreciation certificate. It's not ready today to present it to you with the group here present, but we'll send it to you later. Thank you. God says to me, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Me? It is especially me, whom God has so loved, ungrateful me, sinful me, God of surpassing majesty, God of supreme beauty and limitless perfection. God has loved me. God, me, what a distance. The infinite and nothing. And God has loved this nothing. Loved, O God of love. Make me understand this word, loved. He who has always existed has always loved me. And it is true love that he has decreed my creation from all eternity. This is taken from Jewish Shabbat. Just for a few seconds. Allow words that may speak to your heart.
Yours is the hunger I feel. Yours is the life. Yours is the living. You are the one that I love. You are the one that I love. Yours is the hunger I feel. Yours is the life. Yours is the living. You are the one that I love. Try to let your fear dissolve. Let my spirit hold your
Glory to God, whose power working in us can do infinitely more than we can ask or imagine. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Could you kindly get your pictures, so the picture taken with Merle, our presenter? Get your cameras on.
Thank you. Everyone who wrote in the chat, thank you very much. And see
So
you
your
tomorrow.
turn, Sammy. Where are you?
Thank
Sam,
you, Sister Merle.
ready?
Thank you.
The MECs. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Thank you very much. Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations to
Merle.
our technology
Thank you.
person.
Yeah,
Brother Benedict.
congratulations. Thank you.
See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Thank you, Lay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Okay,
teacher.
everyone. Thank you
Regards,
Thank
very
you,
Sister
much.
Jen.
Lee.
See you
Thank you,
Everyone.
tomorrow.
sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister
Beautiful.
Merle.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you.
Salamat.
Salamat po.
Salamat
See you
po, salamat.
tomorrow.
Amin, salamat.
Thank you.
Salamat po.
Salamat po.
See you.
Salamat.
Salamat po.
Thank you.
Salamat.
Thank you. See you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Salamat po. Marajam na karajam.
Salamat
Okay,
po.
Now we
bye-bye.
see the
Bye po.
Bye. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
Take care.
Right, thanks.
Hi, Amaka. Hi.
Greetings.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, Father.
Father, ano to lang?
Okay.
Bisita pa kami sa bantog.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, Sister Carmen.
Nagawa niyo dyan.
From Indonesia. Evelyn from
Bisita
Indonesia.
taga bantog.
Hello, taga-bantog.
Hello.
Taga-bantog. I don't see the Indonesian sister. Nangani na kayo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janvin, nangani ka na. Nagani na ka.
Sisters from Indonesia. Thank you.
Ikaw.
Sister Lay.
Bye.
Salamat.
Bye, Luis. Bye.
Sister Carmen, we're gonna start Sister Irene.
Oy, enjoy
Thank you,
dia.
Father
Enjoy dia.
Dinos.
Say goodbye now.
Shirley, thank you.
Bye-bye po. I'm leaving.
Good dinner.
Enjoy.
Hoy, Janre.
Lunch pa, lunch pa.
Kumusta mo diya, oy?
Okay, sister. The best.